Hey everyone, Yoyston here, and I hope you all are doing well, wherever you are in Middle-earth. I'm joined this morning, once again, by my good friend Royan, as we got a title reveal, I guess? Title reveal video for the Amazon Lord of the Rings show. It's about 1 minute long, it's linked in the description of this video, and they released it over on their Twitter and Instagrams. Royan, what did you think?
Well, so yeah, I just watched it. If everybody is here, excited to learn more about like what the characters are going to look like, what the shows, you're going to be very disappointed. Um, because the best we got was a voiceover, an unrecognized voiceover. It's saying the same lines that Kate Blanchett said, but I
People are,
believe
yeah,
this is the new actress who's going to
yeah.
be playing. Oh my gosh.
Galadriel. Sorry, it's
Yeah,
it's early. We were thrown off.
can't
um,
believe I just forgot Galadriel's name, but it's morning.
yeah.
Uh,
um,
so yeah, as far as what this is just part of the small parts of like media that they're gonna be releasing to increase hype um
yeah,
around the show, which is all in all for the best, but it's just not a lot yet. But we'll talk about it and we'll talk about what it means. So
yeah. So I see it, and it's interesting because the video has this, like, forging of kind of the O within the name, or within, I guess, the word power,
So I
as
actually
a
saw
ring.
like at one point they were forging a W. So I think they like the animation. So if you haven't seen it, go watch it first. But uh it's going through the animation is just it forging the words to spell out the rings of power. Oh, by the way, that's the title. Lord of the
Yeah,
Rings, colon space, the Ring of Power. And a lot of people have talked about like why is this called the Lord of the Rings? It has nothing to do with the Lord of the Rings. It has something to do with the Lord of the Rings, but also that's just going to be their branding. That's going to be their
yeah.
marketing. There's no way on earth that they would ever let go of the amount of brand recognition.
What I was saying yesterday on the video, because I was like, I don't know when they're gonna release the name, but I bet the Lord of the Rings will be in it because the IP, man, like, it's
That
it's
you
free
can't
money.
like think
Yeah,
about it. It's so important to the people that aren't the people that aren't the audience for the Men of the West YouTube channel. Like those people will get it no matter what. Like if you call it something related to the Second Age, which
sure,
the Rings of
sure.
Power works, but
The ruins of Aragian, people would be like, oh, see, that's Lord of the Rings right
it's
there.
like these guys right here, they'd be so into it. Us, we'd be into that.
Yeah.
But like the Amazon is going to it is their idea is to increase the audience of Lord of the Rings for the purposes of their show and for the people that aren't like us that they're not going to recognize the ruins of Eregion.
Yeah.
They probably wouldn't even recognize the Rings of Power. Like that's too generic for them to understand. Like that just sounds like a title. But when you
Yeah.
throw Lord of the Rings in front of it, suddenly that starts to click for a lot more people.
I mean, to try to add the the optimist, like, spin to it, if Sauron is the main character, then you know what? They they have my blessing to call it the Lord of the Rings. The rings, like, with having the Lord of the Rings in it, because that would be cool if it's like centered around the Lord of the Rings himself. But yeah, I doubt that.
I imagine he'll be the bad guy,
Yeah.
but it will not. He won't be the main character. It's just called the Lord of the Rings because they want people to recognize it for what it is.
Hmm.
So
And so
yeah.
with the video itself, right? So you have this, the forging and everything, but you also, it looks like it's forging on wood. Could be wrong, but it's
See that
kind of
was the
odd.
weird part for me, because when I look at this, and right now the video I'm watching is blurry, but it looks. I'm with you there. It looks more like wood or like some kind of
Maybe it's
really stratified
casting. It could be
rock.
casting sand.
That
Um,
it makes the most amount of sense, but why is it so stratified? Like there's so many lines.
yeah, and
I don't do a lot of like actual goldsmithing or anything like that, but
I mean, one of my friends is a blacksmith, and I've seen him cast things, and like, it's just this is odd because it does look like wood. It might be casting sand, and then but water washes over it. I feel like you'd want to let it cool for on its own.
I mean, yeah, if we're gonna go after the accuracy of forging a ring, then we're gonna be here all day. But
Sure,
I'm gonna be
that's
honest,
fair.
the water flowing over it and then steaming up, and then as the camera pulls out, it reveals like the metal that becomes the rings of power, and the steam kind of flies away. Like that's just an artistic design choice.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. I mean, yeah, overall, like this doesn't give us a ton. In some ways, the picture of who people actually believe to be Finrod Felagund looking out at the city of Tyrion and the two Valinor. In some ways, that kind of gave us more lore-wise to discuss than this. But with this, we do have a couple ideas of their priorities. You know, the Rings of Power, so we can hope at least that like a good chunk of the show is focused in the 1600s Second Age in the time of Aurelian and time of forging of rings. At least I'm very hopeful of that since it's called the forge or since it's called the Rings of Power. Um, really hoping that they spend a lot of time in that mid to early second age period, where Anatar, the Lord of Gifts, is teaching Noldor and Celebrimbor and all of that. Uh, you know, being very hopeful, and again, like they're going to use the IP. They're going to use the association with Peter Jackson's films because the Galadriel monologue here very reminiscent of the Galadriel monologue at the beginning of the Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's exciting to have a name and to kind of see a little bit more of the direction that they're headed into. But for me, I'm still cautiously optimistic. This felt again. I don't mean to be like too cynical or anything like that. With this, it is an exciting time, but it felt a little bit generic. This kind of reveal here. It looked amazing, but I'm really it reminded me a ton of Wheel of Time, and it could just be me, but like the CGI and everything, it just very much felt like that, and I hope it does have its own tone, its own um, Lord of the Rings Middle Earth feel. And obviously, it's been 20 years since Peter Jackson's films. Obviously, it's a whole different team working on it, so it won't completely feel like that version. But I hope it does have its own tone. You know what I mean, Ryan?
Yeah, and as far as like the animation goes, I think it feels reminiscent of Lord of the Rings because that's just where animation like is right now. For the amount of money that they're putting into it, and for the fact that this is just like a show title reveal, I would not expect them to like spend, and I wouldn't want them to spend a large part of their budget on this specific
Sure.
part of marketing.
Yeah.
And so, uh, but you're right. It's kind of just it's like a kind of trend because Game of Thrones was somewhat similar with if you remember the Game of Thrones intro. So basically, what I'm trying to get at is that the Wheel of Time they had a title reveal in June of last year, which was like 5 months before the debut of their first episode. We learned earlier that the Lord of the Rings show will be dropping in September. So we got like 8 months now.
Yep.
So yeah, the teasers will probably come later, and then the official trailers even after that. And until then, we're just gonna have to like we're gonna use these little tidbits, things like dropping an image, things like dropping this. This is mostly, I believe, just so that people on social media and things like that can just start using the correct titles, hashtags, and trending, and get those
That's perfect.
like
Yeah. And
more interested.
I mean, as far as the name goes, it's a good name. I think. But again, like
It kind of works.
the rings part, like this title, to be fair, does have rings, the word rings in it twice. um, so yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, honestly, by itself, the Rings of Power would be good for me, but like you said, Ryan, it's like they're not
They
gonna
they would never drop that
never.
opportunity to cash in on that IP marketing.
I mean, I've been thinking about it
Um,
recently, even with like the Disney Plus Marvel shows, right? It always has the name of the character in it: Hawkeye, Falcon and Winter Soldier, WandaVision, literally WandaVision. Like both are character names, so it's the same kind of thing. They would, I think, they feel like they would lose money if that intellectual property isn't apparent in the very title. So, um, ooh, okay. IGN released an article. I'll link it in the description. This is how they made the Lord of the Rings title sequence.
and I don't know if this is going to be the final title sequence before every episode of the show. I think this will be at least like the forging part. They'll probably go faster because they won't do the voiceover before every episode and things like that. But the idea of casting in the sand and then zooming out to reveal the title, I think that will be before every episode, but not like the whole shebang.
Yeah. So according to this IGN, let's see, they actually cast like the title, which is sweet. It's apparently not completely CGI or anything like that. Uh,
Really?
yeah, it's in a hunk of reclaimed redwood. Again, according
So
to
it
this,
is wood.
yeah, which is odd, but okay. I mean, if it works, again, I'm not like an expert on casting. All I know is like you have casting sand usually, um, and yeah,
So it's
uh,
not completely CGI. So I feel like the mist and the smoky part that has to be because
it says
it's
the
so slow motion and
yeah, it says the
so
water
flowy.
is molten metal. Apparently, that's awesome. That is that real?
Have
Okay.
you ever seen those videos of like uh behind the scenes of like food commercials and they show like, you know, like the guy with the camera super zoomed in, like watching the hamburger like fall together for like a Wendy's commercial or something like that.
Yeah,
That's kind of what the vibe is like right now. Uh,
that's true. I mean, if you go and like look at these pictures and how it is all like working together. I mean, these are obviously very beautifully taken pictures, right? They weren't going to release the back like behind the scenes pictures that weren't kind of well put together, it looks
good.
like.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this feels more, it's funny, this actually feels more Lord of the Ringsy, like the casting, than actually like the teaser for me personally. Because they're using the thing that contains like the molten metal. It looks a lot like the one that is at the beginning of the Fellowship of the Ring, where they turn it and it all comes out. That actually looks very much like Lord of the Rings to me. Versus, like, I didn't really know what I was looking at with the teaser, to be honest. It was, again, it's exciting and it was pretty cool, but I'm also like, is this an island? Like, what's with all the water? Uh, and where's all this metal coming from? And but no, the actual forging of it, that's oh yeah, check out that IGN description. Again, I'm trying not to be too cynical and trying to be very optimistic about the show and everything, but
And we'll have probably more discussion on this in our podcast.
yeah. Shout out to the Western S podcast that we do on Patreon. Our next episode's coming out next week. Yeah, I mean, cool. I mean, again, it's good we have a name for the show now. The Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power.
Now we get to refer to it as that, as opposed to the Lord of the Rings show.
Yeah, yeah. Amazon's Lord of the Rings. Uh, huh. Well, very cool. Ryan, any other thoughts? I don't want this video to drag on too long or anything.
Yeah, yeah. I just think like honestly, at the end of it all, the animation I actually think was pretty cool. I do agree that it's following a trend of like animated title sequences, not just for fantasy, but for shows in general. And that might make it feel like a little bit more like just part of a pack than standing alone.
Yeah.
But this is the this is first real from the show marketing we've gotten since that picture, which I'm pretty sure was like the first from the show marketing that we had since they were like welcome to the second age, like a year and a half prior to that. So
Yeah.
um
There's a
we'll see
picture.
how this develops.
Ryan, I'm sending this to you now, but there's a picture of Jeff Bezos with the completed, I guess, redwood thing.
Oh, did he just take it home?
I
But
guess.
you should just throw it in the
Oh,
in the Discord so that everyone can see it.
yeah, true. This will be on the video itself.
It is real. Wow. Okay. So it looks like they CG'd the little carvings in the side of the metal, which makes sense to me because
Yeah,
it's not magic. But honestly, that's so tight.
right? That actually looks
Wow.
really good. Um,
And it's like in his house. He's got like a grand piano behind him. He's just
it's, yeah,
Jeff Bezos, big nerd, is like, I want this. Taking this home.
above the fireplace. Need it. That's awesome. Well, cool. Lord of the Rings, the
I
Rings
wish
of
that was you,
Power.
huh?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that looks sweet. Again, it's funny. The actual product itself to me looks better than like it does in the video. Just
He
because
looks so clean from this
yeah,
angle.
it looks real. I like that. It doesn't look CG. It looks real, and it is
I
real.
guess we're just so conditioned to CG that everything that we see that looks kind of CG is just like
See, yeah, it's just like, oh, it has to be, right? Nobody actually
Marvel
cast
movies and
it.
all these things. They're like we've been getting so much CG that like when someone's like, ah, no, this is practical. I'm like, yeah, right.
Yeah. People actually know how to cast things? No way. No, that's super. That's super cool. Um, yeah, we'll see if that's the intro at all to like every episode. I didn't honestly even think of that, Ryan. I thought this was could just be like the only time we see it, but it could be that this.
It's probably not like the intro with they're showing all of the names and stuff for the actors and director or whatever, but it's probably I think that just that little title reveal will probably be like the title reveal in every episode.
Yeah,
It's not going to be a minute long like this video is. Probably going to be like 2 seconds long of just like the forging and then zoom out.
yeah, absolutely. Um, that would make sense. So if they're doing Rings of Power, how much focus will there be on Numenor? How much, I'm
Random
curious about.
questions that we still don't know answers to.
Yeah, exactly.
Will we know answers at some point? Probably. Will we
Hopefully.
know before the show drops? I don't even know.
Yeah, probably not, honestly. I mean, that's the big part of me. It's like very cool to see them forging something like forging a ring, but hoping to also get some waves, see the island of Numenor, see the Star of Eärendil that guided them there. Uh, big nerd stuff. That's what I'm all
Big
about.
big nerdy stuff. I think that'll come later. Hopefully.
Yeah.
I hope that they because the amount of buzz that the image that they dropped caused. I
Yeah.
hope that they learned that they could do more stuff like that and that they're planning to do more stuff like that moving forward. But it
Yeah.
makes sense they want to make this specific shot. They want to get the correct title out so that when things go trending on social media, it's the correct title.
That makes sense.
Because that's how marketing is done nowadays, kids. Whether for better or for worse, you need that hashtag, and that hashtag needs to be accurate. Because if it's not, then it's going to get lost in the waves.
True. Very true. So, yeah, Ryan, what do you we've talked a lot about their marketing strategy and how it's kind of taken
How I
some
hate
time
it.
to get rolling. Yeah. So do you think it was like do you think this should have come out a while ago? Do you think this is a ripe time for it? Do you think they'll release something during the Super Bowl?
During the Super Bowl, I don't think so. Because they don't need to.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Like when it comes to technology companies and internet companies, and the kind of audience that this is trying to reach, they don't need to release anything during the Super Bowl. They can leave that to like the Doritos and the Mountain Dews of the world, and the car companies or whatever, the car insurances,
Yeah.
because they can release something online and it will still get mad traction to their audience. Like think about it, like when you're on, not just you, but like when a person is on the internet and they're looking at trailers for things like that, they'll see, for instance, Marvel Moon Knight came out like what, a day ago, and that's
True.
already going wild and crazy, and they don't need to spend like the couple million, 10 million to tens of millions of dollars to get that 30-second spot during the Super Bowl.
That's
It's
a
just not worth
great
it.
point. That's a great point. Yeah, that's kind of the old media way. Or like you say, the bigger just like product based and
Yeah. Yeah.
that's a great point. And
So
and honestly,
yeah,
like with the international audience that the Amazon show is going for, Super Bowl is very
another
American.
huge point because
So
Wheel of Time, it did do very well comparatively to like other streamings and things like that. I mean, again, the things that were going on at the same time, it was beating out Hawkeye pretty fairly. I don't know about the end, towards the end of it, the total numbers, but
yeah,
like all these things, but most of that number was coming from overseas. And I imagine that they're going for the same sort of thing. And Lord of the Rings is it transcends like many different cultural boundaries because in the end it is a European like originating
yeah,
property.
yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. And
so
even within the story itself, it is world kind of spanning. It's it has a huge scope, so it makes sense that it's even broad in its meta story. Yeah,
but yeah, I'd
yeah,
like for more things to happen. But also they have to be careful with it because if you get the hype going too early before your premiere, then your hype can die. Uh,
true.
but I,
Yeah,
it's a really big balance, and it's kind of like the thing where it's like there's always going to be people who are left upset. I'm going to be that person. I'll take that one for the team. I want more stuff now.
yeah, that's
Because I'm
fair.
not going to lose hype. Like I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna
Yeah,
be pretty much. I feel like right now today is probably gonna be approximately how I'm gonna feel the when I'm sitting down to watch the first episode,
yeah,
which is optimistic and hopeful, but also like fearful.
yeah,
I feel
absolutely.
like a lot of people listening to this will probably reciprocate with that. There'll be some people who are just gonna hate it no matter what, and that's fine. You do your thing, but
Yeah. And there are also going to be some people that love it no matter what. Um,
yeah.
but like I said on my video yesterday, regardless if it's good or not, be here to discuss it. So
Yeah.
yeah, Ryan, thank you so much for joining me this morning. Yeah, The Lord of the Rings, The Ring of Power, or The Rings of Power. Excited to see. Hopefully that takes us into the middle second age where we explore a lot with the elves and
Yeah, the
how
War of Elves and Sauron. I'm really hoping to see
yeah,
some of that. Irigian stuff like that.
how
Super cool.
like the Witch King was a Numenorian and Sauron gave him like the ring and uh you know Durin from Khazad-dûm getting his ring. So I hope it explores all of that. And this kind of does quell my fears a little bit that I had in my last video where I was talking about hopefully they don't just focus on the end of the second age when they've got so much good material or the end of the second age just throughout the entire age. So looks like they'll be focusing a lot on different. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, for listening. Let us know your thoughts on this whole animation and title and everything like that. What are your thoughts? Does this change anything? Does this give you new hopes, new fears? Let us know in the comments below. Uh, Sorry, this is all thrown together at the last minute. Let me pull up my Valar tier patrons. Uh, Good times.
Adrian De la Torre, Peter Sheppard. Those
Yes, yes.
are
uh,
the two that I always remember.
yeah.
There's more.
Adrian De la Torre, Chris Ortner, Kyle Wetzel, Peter Sheppard, Jonathan Putnam, Mark Kralick, Blair Scouten, Merten, John Hume, Jennifer Wood, Sam McBee, Matt Sibbach, Elizabeth Calvert, Maz Gibs, Ben Gardner, Condar, Rhys Jenkins, Adam Petrulik, Kuzan, Brandon Glidden, and Molly Sullivan. Thank you so much. Thanks to all of our patrons. And yeah, thank you all so much for joining us. It's been a week of a couple videos, so
Hey,
yeah, thanks for being here, and I'll see you Monday. If you're interested in our podcast, or sorry, I'll see you all Sunday, and then Monday is our podcast. So thank you all so much for joining us in this adventure. Until the next one.